Hello, I'm here with my good friend Kate Bush to discuss the 2024 Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist, which has just been publicly announced, and I'm filming this a day in advance, but I don't know which books are on the shortlist yet. The Women's Prize kindly sent me that list in advance as an attachment, but I haven't opened it. What I've done instead is I asked my husband to look at it and write down on these colorful envelopes the titles which are on the shortlist, so I can reveal them one by one and give my instant reaction on camera, because I thought that would be more fun. And by the way, today my husband and I are celebrating our 25th anniversary. It's our silver anniversary. Can you believe that? We've not been married that entire time, partly because for a number of years we weren't legally able to get married, but I'm so lucky to be with him, and lucky that he puts up with all my bookish geeky things that I do. Now, these are all of the books that are on the long list. If you watched my video with my friend Anna James, I'm discussing all of these books and picking out which books we wanted to be on the short list. You'll know that these are the 6 novels that I am hoping and predicting will be on the short list. I loved reading all of these books, but there are a number of other books on the long list that I would also be happy to see on the short list, and you can just never tell which way the judges are going to go. So now I've waited long enough. I'm going to look at which books are on the short list. I think I've shown incredible self-restraint in not looking yet. So let me go through and I'll shuffle these up so they are totally random. And the first book, which is on the short list, is, Restless, Dolly, Maunder. Okay, that's quite a surprise. So I'm going to go through after and discuss these books more in detail. But yeah, I enjoyed reading this book a lot more than I expected to. So yeah, that's really nice to see it on the short list. Next up, there is Brotherless Night. Hooray! Yes. Such a good book. And yeah, one I just read very recently that I was really hoping to see on the short list. Such a powerful and devastating novel. Next up, there, River East, River West. Yes, this is a debut novel that is so good. So inventive. Such a clever and powerful voice. So yes, yay! That's so exciting. Next up, 4th on the list is the Wren by Enright. Okay, really interesting. She's such an incredible writer. Her writing is just always so excellent. Filled with so much humor and intelligence, and this is a really interesting look at the lives of 2 different women, a mother and a daughter, but also their grandmother and the grandfather of this family. Okay, next up, there's Soldier Sailor. This was the first book that I read after the long list was announced. And yeah, such a powerful novel. Also really devastating and really emotional, but also has this humorous edge to it to talk about this serious subject. Now, 6 on the list. I think it has to be Enter Ghost, doesn't it? Okay, 6 is... Yes, Enter Ghost. Yay. Okay, I'm so happy that is on the short list. Yay. Okay, that's really great. Okay, I'm gonna pick out those books and then discuss each title individually. And here they are, these 6 novels that are on the shortlist. A really interesting group, especially because there's some overlapping subject matter to do with individuals caught up in large-scale conflict, and I'm looking at generations in family life and especially parent-child relationships. And I know those are like large-scale subjects that a lot of novels deal with, but how these address them in particular, and I'm reading them alongside each other. It's so intriguing, the perspectives that they give and the different points of view. So I'm going to go through and discuss them all individually. I'm starting with Soldier Sailor, which is about an Irish mother who is addressing her child, looking back on the early years of raising her child and the incredibly difficult period of going through that experience experience the sheer exhaustion of day-to-day life of trying to care and raise this child, often on her own because her husband is at work a lot of the time, and dealing with the stress of that her position and isolation, and the relationship that she develops with a male friend of hers over a period of time that's just a friendship, but which becomes so important to her, and the way that relationship is portrayed is really interesting, and that character in general, and so yeah, I found this novel to be so powerful, but also it has humorous edge to it of kind of showing the absurdity of life in her position, which she's kind of aware of, at the same time as portraying the real anguish of this situation. And yeah, such an excellent book. I'm so glad to see it's getting more attention. Then there is Brotherless Night, a novel set in Sri Lanka, beginning with the Civil War in the 1980s, following a young woman who is studying to be a doctor, and she has multiple brothers who then are drawn into the larger conflict of the country over a period of time, and following that is so harrowing, and how she becomes involved in it as well, and showing the different political positions of a number of people, how this large-scale conflict sets family members against each other, and creates so much disturbance and death in their life, and really like halts their progress going forward, and forces them to make choices. There are some scenes in this which are so gripping and terrifying, portraying this conflict, but also of the different positions of people involved. It's so intelligent how it shows that there's in really big conflicts like this, there's no right position to be on, because each side is showing aggression but is also involved in retaliation. So it's just this cycle of violence which so many people are caught in, and yeah, how this novel portrays all of that is so brilliantly done. There is also the Wren, which begins portraying a young woman's life, Irish woman who has just fallen in love, and she's slightly adrift in her life and gets involved in this difficult relationship. But it also shows the perspective of her mother, who's a very independent woman who's had to make a lot of difficult decisions in her life, and how both of them are kind of living under the specter of the grandfather, or the father's, the mother's father's point of view, who was a semi-famous poet, and but who was quite arrogant and very ambitious in wanting to be a famous poet. And there is one slight section of this showing his point of view as well, which is quite controversial and really interesting to discuss in the context of these other women's points of view, and the impact that he has made on his life, how he kind of casts a shadow over their lives as we follow the struggles that they're going through in their present lives. And so how it shows these different generations is so interesting. And yeah, another book that has a great sense of humor to it, that a real wry sense of humor that Enright brings out in all of her writing. I would say this isn't my favorite book by her. There are other novels of hers that I've loved reading more, but this was a great reading experience. There is also River East, River West, which is another novel which shows different points of view, that switches between the first-person perspectives of both a young woman, a 14-year-old girl in Shanghai, who is growing up with her mother, who is a white American, and who has been kind of adrift for a number of years, but she's just married a Chinese man, but her daughter does not like this new marriage. And so we follow that conflict, but then we also get her stepfather's perspective in the story of his life leading up to this time when he married her mother, and showing how their lives intersect, and how there are certain conflicts that they are each dealing separately, which they kind of overlap in certain ways, but are quite different because they're in very different points of their lives, and how their stories come together is so powerful and really moving, and a really gripping book to follow. And yeah, such a powerful debut, such a great new voice. And so this is really great to see. There's also Kate Grenville's novel Restless, Dolly, Maunder, which Kate Grenville is a very established author. She's written many novels, and many which have received prize attention before. And I wasn't too excited about reading this, but once I got into the story, I'm following a woman in New South Wales, growing up in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and how she grows up in a poor farming family and is just expected to marry a man. She's not expected to continue on with her education, even though she's very intelligent, shows a lot of ability. But yeah, her father stops her from becoming a teacher like she wanted to do, and instead she gets married. And so it follows her life as she becomes an entrepreneur and starts a number of businesses which become very successful. How she starts a business like this with her husband, and the special partnership that they form over time, having 3 different children, and gradually it's revealed that this woman was Kate Grenville's own grandmother, and how she's taking the sort of structure of her life and then fictionally filling in a lot of the emotional detail to portray this, and how this comes together and culminates in a meeting between the author and her grandmother at the end is so powerful and really beautifully portrayed. And so I was really emotional at the end of this novel, and yeah, how it shows this real reverence for past generations and how there's so much about their lives that we can't know about, and how they dealt with the struggles at the time of the limitations which were imposed, especially upon women over 100 years ago, and looking at how some of those issues still persist today. And yeah, it's so even though this is could be classified as a historical novel, I think it has a lot of contemporary relevance still. And then there is Enter Ghost, following a woman who was born in the Middle East but has been living in England for a number of years with her father and working as an actress here, but how she travels back to the Middle East to visit her sister, and then gets involved with a production of Hamlet, which is taking place on the West Bank, and how that it portrays the life of that theater group. I mean, I'm a sucker for stories about theater life, and how it shows the collaboration of these performers and people involved in the theater, but also the conflicts which grow between them, and how they consciously discuss the text of Shakespeare and the parallels with the modern situation in the Middle East is so intelligent and clever. Kind of like in a meta way, but also how it portrays that through their performances, and in the eventual performance that it leads up to. It's so powerful, so beautiful, and I'm so glad that this has been listed because yeah, I think it's a really excellent novel. And so yeah, what a great shortlist of books, and it'll be so interesting to see what the judges choose as their winner, which will be announced on June 13th. So I'm going to be thinking about these books a lot more, and yeah, considering which book I think should win, and hopefully I'll make a video with Anna discussing our predictions for the winner before that. But yeah, I have a couple more books to finish reading, just to finish reading the entire long list. So I'm almost finished reading Karen Lord's book, which is really interesting, though it's sci-fi, not my sort of novel. And I also have The Maiden to read, another historical novel on the list. So then I'll completed reading the entire long list, but I'd love to know, what do you think about the shortlist? Have you read some or all of the books on the shortlist, or are you interested in reading any of them now? Were you hoping that some other books on the long list would make the shortlist? I am quite disappointed that In Defense of the Act and Western Lane and Ordinary Human Failings didn't make the shortlist. I thought these were excellent novels, and I'd highly recommend reading all of them still. Also, Nightbloom and Hangman were also excellent novels, in my opinion. But yeah, I'd love to know if you've read any of those books, what you think of them. Also, there is the very first Women's Prize for Nonfiction shortlist, and so I've read 4 of these books. I still have to read All That She Carried and Codependent, but the other 4 that I've read are also incredible reads, really fascinating, and also really interesting how some of the subject matter of these overlap with the novels as well. So yeah, so much great reading to do. I'd love to know, what you think of the nonfiction shortlist as well, and if you've been reading any of those books, and any of your thoughts about them. Please let me know about that in the comments below. But we will see on June 13th what the winner is, and that'll be really exciting. But thank you for watching me discuss all of these books, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.